Hi, everyone. Welcome back to St. Catherine of Siena in Houston. I hope you're all keeping well and sane, relatively at least, as we continue to cope with the challenges of the pandemic. It's the 17th Sunday in Ordinary Time. The passage from the first book of the Kings is where God, speaking to Solomon, basically asks, what do you wish for in your prayer? What are you praying for? What do you ask of God? Look at what his prayer comprises of, and then consider the things we pray for. Solomon admits, firstly, that he is a young king, a young lad, a mere youth, he says, and he does not know what to do. The term what to do translates a Hebrew idiom, which is interesting. It technically states, I do not know how to go out and how to come back in, how to lead. The first king, Saul, and the second king, David, were both military campaigners and did extremely well militarily. In fact, David extended the borders of what we know as Israel to their outermost reaches historically. They have never been repeated historically. So when Solomon states he does not know how to lead in and lead out rather, and lead back in, he admits he does not know how to, at least initially, lead military campaigns. And historically, Solomon never led many military campaigns. In the history of the Hebrew monarchy, this is a colossal change in the understanding of what a king is, meaning what a Messiah, an anointed one, in this instance a king. He becomes the first judge monarch. He is a person who's going to lead and expand his kingdom by being a judge of what is right and wrong. He will arbitrate. He will listen. He will discern. This is a new approach, and it's a new approach to an expansion of the Israelite community. And when we come to the person of Christ, we see where Christ becomes very much a similar king. And in John's Gospel, when he is described as a shepherd king, as was David a shepherd, who will lead in and lead out. Do you remember how he describes himself in chapter 10 of John's Gospel as the good shepherd? I will lead my sheep out and I shall bring them back. He knows how to lead, but this is not a military campaign. Its origins are here. The passage from Romans states that we know it's not about an individual. It's about how we as a community, a group, a faith family grow together. And it's not based upon pie in the sky. It's based upon our present experience of the reign of God, meaning the presence of God, our experience of the reality of God. It is a communal call, and it's based upon God's initiative. God created us and predestined us. Predestined does not mean that everything is laid out and predetermined. How many of you have been told and remember when you were a small child or a young person, someone saying, you are destined for great things? I look at children I've baptized and I think of them as bundles of potential. As I look at their oohing and gooing parents looking down upon this child in their arms, thinking what the future holds. It's wide open. The world is their oyster. When Paul states we're predestined, it means God looks on us and states, your potential is colossal. You are destined for fabulous things. The destiny here is to become the children of God. It's done in community. We never grow and become fully human in isolation. It's with others. It's within a family. It is within our relationships. It is through, with, and in human contact. And part of that contact is how we discover God as well in the community of those who are searching for God. When it says we are justified, it's a legal term. It means we are acceptable. We are all acceptable, always acceptable in the eyes of God. And we're never not loved by God. Sometimes our behavior, maybe some more than sometimes, is not acceptable. But we as people who are loved are always called to greater things, called to the glory that we see reflected in the firstborn, meaning Christ, the firstborn from the dead. We're called to resurrect from the dead in the here and now. Part of this discovery of who we are destined to be, and discovering it in the context of a God who calls us, and discerning the call of God, is put in two beautiful parables in today's gospel. The person who, meandering through the field, discovers a treasure. It's stumbled upon. How many of you came to the faith, discovered it by chance, by encounter, being in the right place at the right time? You might put it in hindsight, but we weren't necessarily looking. We were open, and we came across something, an experience, people, person, church, community. There was no turning back. We discovered something. Not necessarily we couldn't put words on what we were looking for, but we were. The man or the merchant, male or female, who is looking for something. He already has and knows what a pearl is. A pearl also refers to wisdom in biblical language, but looking for a deeper relationship. We've gone beyond the stumbling, but there will always be stumbling and discoveries. Goes looking for and is searching. One day he finds it. There's no going back. How we fare out on this journey has been part of the weeds and the wheat, is always left till our last breath. God never gives up. God never ceases calling. God never ceases or stops loving us. Not until the end is the net which brings us together as community. Remember I said, we grow and become truly who we are destined to be with one another, never by ourselves. Salvation is not a private airline ticket to paradise. It's with a community, in a community, through a community of individuals. Others bring the best out in us, and they confront us with the worst in us as well, and vice versa. It says there will be, and in the end, when the separation happens, note, they will take out of the net the community brought together of all kinds of fish in the lake. The good will be placed aside for, the destiny of whatever. And the bad are not thrown back into the sea, they're thrown aside, discarded. And probably a reflection on, we have discarded and thrown aside our potential, and it's now too late. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. This is a description of mourning, and the gnashing of teeth is, grinding your teeth, regret. It's too late. I learned, it's an idiom I like, live life minimizing your regret. Looking back and saying, if only, well, if you're at that stage, change it. But minimize regret in life. And the last of it is, ascribe, probably it's a self-description of who Matthew is, a person well versed in the old and the new, and the ability what to leave behind. What of the past bears light on the present? It can't be discarded. And the new we have to be open to as well. Two things. The old is not to be discarded, and older people and experience do not discard, but be wise in what you let go of and what you bring forward with you to sustain you. Do not disregard the new and decide all is in the past and from the past. Not so. It's learning to know what to be open to of the past and what to be open to of the new and the discoveries, the pearl, the treasure that lies ahead of us. It's not one or the other, it's both and. It's a call to discernment. Romans, God calls us. And we're listening to that word, constantly discerning with each other. Look at those passages, see how they speak to you, and you will enjoy the journey. It is the journey of life, and I will see you shortly. Take care. Bye. Welcome back again. The comment from Solomon, I do not know how to go out, how to come back in, translated in our text as I do not know what to do. The going out and coming in refers to leadership. One must lead from the front. Christ is the one who leads and shows us what direction, how to move. He goes before us. The kings of Israel and the leaders are people who are asked to go in front of the community, meaning I will lead by example. I do not ask you to do something I'm not willing to do myself. The only way I can get you to follow me is look at how I live, and I will show you how to live. That's a tall order, but it's the call of every adult, parents particularly, who are pastors in their own right, pastors included. There's no one who's not called to give example. When the passage from Romans says we know, we already have an experience of God. Our destiny is a communal destiny. Our salvation is together. Our health and well-being, that's another word for salvation. Salve. Our health as people. Our destiny as people, as a community, is together. With the coronavirus, it is invariably difficult, tense, and challenging. But that's what Solomon refers to. He knows that this is going to be a difficult leadership task. Christ is the one who says, I will lead you out and I shall bring you back. He leads from the front, he leads by example. Our destiny as people is following the example of those we see, we admire. They are the people who encourage. They are the people who are challenged to take us at our own pace. They are the ones who have become wise enough, like Solomon, to know when to slow down. Solomon is the one who inaugurates a new way of leadership based upon listening. Listening to our woes and miseries and fears. He is the one who will learn how to discern where we are all going, old, young, single, and everybody else. It's the destiny of a family and a people, and it's our destiny in the middle of turmoil. Together, it can be done. That is the discovery of this treasure in the field and finding the pearl of great price. It's realizing we already have discovered something, but it's not at an end. And the discovery is about the reign of God, the presence of God in our lives. Let God lead us to God's self. God is not there, interestingly, to serve us. God is not the maid or the butler in the sky and there at my behest. You as a parent are not there in terms of maid or butler or servant. We are called, certainly, to serve and minister is a better word, ministry to one another, but not at the level of disabling another person. We're there to enable in the best sense of the word, bring out the best in us, show us what we can do, how we can do it, and it's done with inordinate patience. That's the meandering in the field, the discovery of who we are and discovering who God is calling us to be. Remember, we are predestined, we are destined to be great people. That greatness, how is it discovered? I would say carefully, with great patience, perseverance, hope, learning through and by our mistakes, never giving up, discovering our abilities together. As a family, we become better people together. As a church family, we become a better church together. It's not about individuals in isolation. It's about individuals in a community. Hence the image of the dragnet in the gospel. We're brought together. It's the togetherness and that call which causes all the hassle, as we know. It's easier to live by oneself. Well, maybe. I'm not so sure about that. I prefer to be with people. But being with people is challenging. We're called to grow and discover who we are from the perspective of who God sees us. Beloved children, called to be the beloved children of God. Not knowing what to do might well, I think, describe our present reality. We're in the same place as Solomon, but we learn together. We learn never to move so far ahead of others that we leave them behind. We have to pace each other. We have to pace ourselves. We also learn to be patient with others and ourselves. We also are challenged to move ahead and not stay in the one place. That's the last comment in the gospel which I like. The wisdom to know what to bring out of the past, how to use it, how to learn from it, how to build on it. What to learn and to be open to about that which God has not yet created in me, in you, in us. God is constantly creating us. We've not come to a dead end. I hope not. It's a discovery. We'll stumble across it. We will also find it. There will be a certain amount of looking. The one who found the treasure in the field, it was a surprise. Be open to those surprises. Be open to new possibility. Knowing what to bring from the past, the old. Knowing that the new also is equally important. Without it, there is no tomorrow. There is a tomorrow. There is a new life. There is resurrection from the dead in the here and now. There will be a tomorrow, and we will get there. The old cannot say, or should not, I'm happy where I am. Yes, but it's not the end. Be open to new life. The young cannot say, or should not, yeah, need none of this old nonsense. Doesn't teach me anything. Well, if history doesn't teach us, we will make those mistakes again. Look at and discuss this thing. The very wise person is the one who knows how to live with and deal with the past. knowing what to leave behind and how to leave it behind, and what to bring forward into the present, leading us to the future. Open to the new, the creation that's constantly going on, that to which we are destined to become great. Not saying the past is irrelevant. The young cannot say to the old, I don't need you. The old cannot or should not say to the young, we do not need you. The balance is there. It is together. It is done. It is the challenge of the gospel, and it's the challenge to constantly stay alive. The word of God is calling us. It never ceases to call us. It's not about asking God for things. It's being open to learn, to listen. That is the comment on Solomon. He would become the one who would be wise through listening, watching, being careful when to speak, when not to, how to move, at what pace, also to challenge, to encourage, to lift our sights, to offer hope, always leading from the front, leading out. And when we come back, we are still leading. We have lost nobody on the way. Christ is the one who leads us. He is the one who sets the challenges. He is the one who shows us the infinite patience of God. We are made in God's image. That is our destiny. It's not easy. The gospel never states it is, but it does state it's not impossible. It is possible. It's the challenge. Don't die yet. Don't give up. See you next week.